Very much for joining us. We're back again on air. Thank you for joining us, and yes, welcome back again. And as I said earlier in the introduction, we're going to be shedding more light on President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's visit to France from an economic perspective. And we're very much delighted to have joining us both gentlemen. Actually, you both are welcome, but we'll start with you first, Dr. Mahmoud Sliman, who's an economic expert. He's also the chairman of the Investment Committee in Federations of the Egyptian Industries, the EFED. Thank you very much for joining us. And Dr. Hussein Shreba, Professor of Economy and Planning. Thank you very much for joining us again here at the Daily Debate. Now, there is no doubt that this is another important historic visit to the President. Not the first time that he's been there. I think this is the fifth time that he goes to France since he's in office. But maybe this time comes at a different, time and era with different memorandums of understandings and after the reform or during the development reform program of Egypt. So if we start by telling you, how do you see the significance of this visit at this time from economic perspective? What can you tell us, Doctor?
Let me say that this maybe is the most important visit to France from any Egyptian president since about 30 or 40 years ago.
Yes, why is that?
Why is that? Because when you have looked for the welcome of the French president, you will see different atmosphere and a different environment. So it means that it is very, very nice and a very successful visit for our President Sisi for France. And you have to respect that we have a long-term relation between Egypt and France, and we have many aspects in cooperations, in economy, in cultures, in social as well. Even our law, it is belonged to France from longer time and based on French law. So I believe this visit will reflect for big progress for the economical situations and economical cooperation between Egypt and France. And I believe that we will see this very shortly. It is not long term, it is short term.
Yes.
It will be reflected shortly in the relation between Egypt and France.
And speaking of reflecting a short-term relationship, I would like to also ask you, Dr. Shreba, during the visit, President of France, Macron, said that a French delegation is expected to come to Egypt at the beginning of 2018 and particularly visit economic zones such as the new Suez Canal axis. So what kind of projects are we expecting at the beginning of next year between France and Egypt?
Well, Macron recognized recently that China is having a fingerprint in the Suez Canal. And he found Russia is having another one. And Europe doesn't have anything. And when you say Europe, you have to talk about the French and the Germans and the Italians. So the Germans have already made a kind of a good relationship with 4-point-something billion US dollars for the power and economy. The other thing is the French. The French, they have more than 50,000 companies working in here in Egypt
Currently
already.
Working. We're not talking about anything that will be established.
No. This is working. And the volume of amount of investments over here is 2.2 billion US dollars. And it's supposed to be increased up to 4.5 billion US dollars. How can you increase this volume and you increase this number? You need a new vision, a new area, and a new way of thinking. One of these things for that area, because Suez Canal is a focal point, it will be manufacturing their cars, French cars, here in Egypt. The second thing is petrochemical things is going to be done over there. So why it is the link between East and West. And France wants to play a role in this. The important role is not only the Suez Canal, but it is Libya. Why Libya is going to be gaining its freedom and its way of thinking, and the economy will start up. Who is very close to Libya is Egypt.
Definitely.
Who wants to be in Libya have to start with Egypt.
And we will talk about, I mean, just on the sidelines on the political reflection of this visit. But going back again to the economic perspective, how far do you agree, Dr. Mahmoud, with Dr. Hussein's vision and analysis concerning, I mean, does France need a new vision in the upcoming period in Egypt in terms of expanding and renovating what's already present in terms of investment? Or is there a new direction towards new kind of investments? Is it more like a competitive atmosphere for France in front of the whole world when it comes to, an economic ground in Egypt? How do you see that?
Okay. I believe that Dr. Hussein said that China has a fingerprint in Suez Canal. The first country have the fingerprint in Suez Canal, France, because from long time when they start to digging the Suez Canal, it was living by French people and it is built up by French people since the Lesseps and etc. So I believe that we have many access to work with French people and the French economy. For example, if we have normal extension in Africa market, and most of African people, they are their main language is French. So it means that we have very soft access and very smooth access for Africa. If we have good relations with France and attract some investment that it can have some market in Africa, I think it will achieve our goals to increase the bilateral trading relation between us and France. And also they are advanced for many industries, like the railway station, like the underground, because if you have seen the underground here in Egypt, all underground is built up by French people. And if you coming for the biggest investor in the cement industry, this is Lafarge, this is French company. And if we are going for the cosmetics, for the food stuff and etc., France, they have very big advanced technology in such aspect. So I believe that we have to use and not lose the chance to accelerate and to maximize the benefit of this visit, because as I told you in the beginning, this is one of the very important visits that our President Sisi attend outside Egypt. It is more useful than his visit to America. It is more useful than his visit for some place else. So I believe that we have to concentrate all of us in such a visit to maximize the benefit and the outcome of this visit. Otherwise, if we start to talk and without
anything on concrete on ground,
and active in the ground, I think we will lose the momentum of this visit, because we have to maximize the benefit of this visit, and we have to keep the momentum for this visit to achieve our goal and to achieve the healthy relation between Egypt and France.
Yes. Now, Dr. Hussein as well, I mean, Dr. Mahmoud starts speaking about how important this visit is to Egypt. Well, every visit that the president does seems to be also of equal importance. When he went to China, we said, well, that was a good synchronization between Egypt and China, and then, other countries as well, same process. But is there something special about France when it comes to economic relations? I mean, the president always ensures that he has equal, distinguished, strengthened ties on all levels with all countries. Is there something special in terms of economy between Egypt and France, or is it something special that Egypt finds in France that could be helpful for the investment atmosphere? I mean, how does it go?
Well, it's a win-win game. It's no more than this. Egypt is doing its job, and the importance of its job goes not only economy, it is economy, political, and social. So the three wings.
So there's a balance. I mean, you cannot have a good economic relationship with the country if you do not have a stable political and cultural. I mean, that's how it goes, you mean?
Yes. You better know that you have almost like 1.4 million tourists coming from France. And this type of business, Egypt are in need to it, because it's shelter another economy and another business in Egypt, which is existing, but it's suffering. So Egypt is trying to, and the French tourist is a very highly educated person.
So we're talking about good quality of tourism coming from France.
So France President Sisi is not taking France as only 100% it's pure business. No, it is its culture, it is political, it is economy, it's
because I believe Egypt is one of the countries where French is actually an actual language, a second or a third.
It's a second language.
Yeah, it was
second, third language.
Yeah, one time it was the first, then it came the second, then it came back.
Well, it's still there. It's still there on the top three, Dr. Hussein. Now, Dr. Mahmoud, I would like to talk about, I also want to know your part of that, Dr. Hussein, in a moment. The memorandums of understanding that was signed during this visit in particular were, I believe, equivalent to 400 million euros. Okay. Also, do you have a better, wider scoop of what these kind of deals are consisting of, or these memorandums of understanding are about?
Okay, let us say that before going to the MOU, we can say that France supporting President Sisi to fight the terrorism.
Which is something we will talk about as well. We will talk about military cooperation.
And this is a very, very important, a very significant point that France, they said and broadcasting very clearly that they support Egypt against terrorism and terrorism, to fight terrorism. So this is very, very focal points, because when you are talking about investment and investment environment, you have to be secured and you have to safeguard your country and safeguard your project and so on. So I think this is also a focal point, and it was very clear with Macron that France will be support for all aspects, and this is very significant point. Other thing, if we are talking about 400 billions for corporations, I believe that it could go for transportation, for the railway station, to complete the underground.
So to help Egypt with a better infrastructure and a more modern infrastructure.
Of course, because infrastructure it is most important aspect for industry, especially. If you don't have the infrastructure like the highways, like the transportation railway station, like the port, like the electricity, like the water supplies, like the everything. So it means that you don't have the infrastructure, the real infrastructure. First of all, to attract the business community from outside, you must have a proper infrastructure. Because with infrastructure, you can find
the barriers. You can't get more investment.
It is a barrier, or it is active part. Like what's happened in Europe, community. What that happens, they make infrastructure, they make the highways, they make the railway station, and they facilitate the transportation for all the countries. So by this way, they have the bilateral relation between all Europe. That's what we are looking for, to open the arteries of the country, because the artery of the country was very close and it was very congested. So we need to open all the arteries just to have smooth movement.
Yes, and Dr. Hussein, Dr. Mahmoud is mentioning a very important focal point here, that yes, without infrastructure, a very good infrastructure in modern way, we can bring in from the expertise and raw materials from France, then a lot of other problems won't be resolved. But then this again makes me think, are we getting more services out of France than direct investment? Is it two ways? We're getting the services or the help of the services, as a sort of, a stage or a bridge to get there to the investment, or are we getting direct investment, which is again adding up to the foreign reserves or currency?
It's vice versa.
Yeah, how does it work again?
Both Egypt and France is working together, even with one of the biggest government companies. And I don't want to mention its name.
Yes, of course not.
It's a big one. And even today they have signed a kind of...
And he has been meeting a number of ministers?
No, this is in Egypt.
Okay, the one that's already here.
Yeah, okay. It's already in Egypt. And the chairman of that company, the French company, signed the contract with the big Egyptian company. So both...
Oh, so we're talking about a merge in the upcoming period.
Yes.
All right.
And that's for construction.
Okay, what is the advantage of that? Having a merge between two companies coming from different countries? Regardless if it's public or private, how beneficial is that again?
Both of them, they are in the same field. And both of them...
They're complementary, you mean?
Yeah, they have the same type of work.
Okay.
And one of them is the water pipelines.
Yes.
Which is made out of concrete.
All right.
And both of them, they do it. And both of them, they sell it out of Egypt and France. And both of them, they are going to do additional things for the new capital of Cairo, for new areas.
Okay, so we're talking about a common goal, an economic common goal between France and Egypt in the upcoming period in a particular field that is going to be beneficial and profitable and so forth. So what's your take on that? Do you think that this is something, again, you know, thinking out of the box in terms of having a good, strong economy, that it's no longer you come invest in my country, I come invest in your country, and then we both can, you know, complement each other? No, let's think of a common goal where we both can benefit. I'm saying, I mean, how do you see that?
I believe that thinking out of the boxes should be our trend in the next future, because we always talking about the routine, and this is our traditional way, but we should go out and think out of the box. I believe that we need to build up something of integrations between us and France, and there is many of the projects that we can integrate together. For example, if we have a common market here and a free zone for French and Egyptian free zone here in Egypt, and from this free zone in Suez Canal, something like that, we can export to all the Africa between Egypt and France. I think this will be accelerate the way, because...
Yes, definitely, because you do have a good point. It's a gateway to Africa, Egypt. So, you know, as part of
the door is open, and most of African countries, their main language is the French. So we will use this advantage.
Definitely.
And if we are on the board, if we are in the Red Sea, we can move forward, and we can see, we can export a lot of things. Maybe it is French, Egyptian, or Egyptian French, but we have to encourage the bilateral investment between here and France, and we have to think over, and we have to think big, because our economy should be grow dramatically.
Keeping up with, you know, today's world and the trends.
Not 5% or 4% growth rate, because to change the Egyptian economy and to give the welfare for the people, you have to keep 10% as growth rate for 10 years.
Yes.
To be out of the bottleneck.
Very wise, definitely very wise. Now, one of the signing of the deals included youth empowerment, and I always like to talk about youth and empowering youth, and it's very important to see what kind of deals can we have with other countries concerning the youth employment. But let's take a look at this report and see more about Egypt and France signing the deal, particularly on youth employment.
Third day of his visit to Paris, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi visited the headquarters of the French Ministry of Economy and Finance, where he met with a group of big French companies. Egypt and France signed joint cooperation deals to encourage and develop entrepreneurship through providing vehicles for youth. The deal, signed by Minister of Industry and Trade Tariq Qabil and Deputy French Minister of Treasury Thomas Corp, aims to provide youth with tricycles to help them establish mobile projects. Qabil stated that the deal comes in the framework of enhancing joint cooperation between both Egypt and France in the field of supporting small and micro enterprises and entrepreneurship. Qabil also stated that Egypt is keen on benefiting from the French remarkable expertise in this field, especially in technical support and funding programs. He further said that the deal stipulates that France will provide technical support for the to-be-established projects in accordance with the health and safety international standards. The deal has also studied whether France would grant Egypt a loan to fund buying 500 tricycles to embark on the project.
All right, welcome back again. So generally speaking about youth, it's very important to always put youth into consideration when you're talking about anything that helps this country move forward on a political level, on a social level, on an economic level. And the president is always keen to ensure that youth take part of that. It was very interesting to see deals that were signed on youth employment. Whatever the kind of deal it might consist, how important is it that both countries, I mean, even if it's under cultural, social, levels, that it's important to contribute and sort of mix and have joint expertise from different countries. How useful is that to the Egyptian youth, Dr. Mahmoud?
Yes, if you attract the foreign investment, the direct foreign investment, not indirect foreign investment. So it means that it will yield job opportunities, and this is our main target.
Yes.
How to achieve job opportunities for our people. Because now you have out of the education about 750 people a year. So you must find some project to adapt to adequate for this big number of people. If you don't have the direct investment, forget about indirect investment, hot money, it doesn't work too much for the economy. But what will work too much, it is the direct investment. So if you succeed to attract the direct investment and yield job opportunities, will be very nice. And I believe this critical and historical visit for our president to France, it will yield a significant result and a significant benefit of Egypt.
Yes.
So let us
always wait and see, of course, what would be the reflection of this visit once the president, and when, of course, the delegation comes in 2018 and see what they do. Now, Dr. Shuraiba, I would like to ask you also the same about how you see the youth employment deal in general. I mean, even if it's in terms of exchanging expertise between both countries, as I've said to Dr. Mahmoud. And also, I want to know from your opinion, the president has had a very intensive, busy traveling schedule during the past few months, and it has been all equally important, and it was all successful. I mean, thank God, economically and politically. I want to know, generally speaking, about the Egyptian vision and how do you see it moving towards the past few months, in the direction of development of the country altogether, from all aspects.
Well, let's agree on one thing. From 2014,
there's been a shift, definitely.
Egypt is totally different. Okay? So we don't talk about the past, we talk about the future.
Definitely, yes.
So President Sisi, the moment he started until today, he's working day and night. Not for the sake of anybody else except Egyptians. So he's
and on parallel levels with everything.
So he works for this, but he works also on behalf of other countries, helping other countries. Especially, he is the leading part in the Middle East.
Yes,
Don't
and
forget
Africa,
this.
we cannot also disregard that.
By far, yes.
Yeah, so once he's a leader,
then you have more responsibility.
More responsibility. Europe are in need to Egypt. I'm not talking about France. I'm talking about whole Europe. You have more than 40,000 problems. Each one of them is a chaos and a problem. These 40,000 are gone out of Iraq. Where they will go? France doesn't want them. England doesn't want them. And they say, England said, we will kill them before they reach. That's what the British have said. So I'm not talking about killing or anything, but I'm talking about the 40,000. If they reach Europe, what will be the manner in Europe and how it's going to be? What about the or illegal immigrants, especially coming not from the borders of Egypt, it is from the borders of Libya.
Exactly. I mean, through the Mediterranean.
This is another problem for France, number one.
And Germany as well, yes.
France is on the border.
Yes.
That's number one. And Italy is also.
Of course, yeah.
So anyone will work with Egypt or do anything, he is benefying. He is not
doing a favor.
Doing any favor to Egypt. It's a win-win. Once we get rid of all headaches, he wins and I win. I win prosperity and he wins prosperity. Both of us are winning. And we can start a better life for our new generations. So when he went to France, he asked for, of course, he was talking about long-term projects. But you have to show the young generations because majority of the people of Egypt are young
youth,
generation. So he is trying to put some kind of
emphasis,
it's a refreshment.
Yes.
It's not, economy will never depend on it. So they try to create a mobile catering trucks, and all this should come from France. This is a very simple project, and it's going to go for the youth, and they will be benefiting out of this, and it will be hygienic and everything. It is, and legalized for them. This tiny project as I said, it's a tiny project. It is for the rank and file. It's not for mid-business or huge capacity.
Yes, but the president many times, on many occasions, he ensured on how he's supporting this micro and small, medium-sized enterprises, how important it is to...
Yeah, but this is important, but he is focusing on an important thing, the majority for the future.
Yes.
The majority for the future is the heavy industry. It is the agriculture business. This is both. This is the two wings. If you don't do both of them, you are not doing anything.
Yes, you're missing out a lot.
There is one thing, and I think President Sisi is a smart person and he's going to do it.
Yes. Which is?
There is a project coming up, and it's between Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Jordan. And that will be the top of the leading technology in the Middle East and worldwide. I think he will have a kind of the support of the French, because it is going to go with the Japanese. So
it seems to be complicated, but it's interrelated. I mean, that's why the world is so small.
It's not complicated, because Mohammed bin Salman, he's an intelligent person. I respect out of him what he has done.
He's very innovative as well in his thoughts, which is like really moving Saudi Arabia to another dimension in the upcoming period.
No, he's intelligent. $30 billion US in 30 minutes to...
and they have a vision of 2030, which is also equally as important and on the same scale of the Egyptian 2030 vision as well.
What are we going to use this? How can we use this with the French? That's an important thing. He can do this with Macron, and he can really create a new way and a new thought about the French. The French in IT and high tech, they are very well.
Very qualified, yes, of course. Very advanced as well. Yes.
So we need, as I see, the ambassador, the French ambassador, his name is Stéphane Rometier. He is an excellent person. He's working day and night for the sake of France, number one. But he's trying to support Egypt and the government of Egypt according to the policy of France.
Of course. I mean, that's how it should work.
Yeah, no, it's according to the policy. He's having intensive meetings with, like, for example, the Ministry of Planning. He had, let's say, it's in May, I think so, and he had another one with the educational in March. I'm watching them, and I'm, even I'm out of Egypt.
Yeah, so you're saying there's steep steps. You're very good observer, Doctor. Very good observer, Doctor. I'm saying, yes, I want to go back to you again, Dr. Mahmoud, and your take on Dr. Hussein's comments regarding Egyptian vision and how there's no doubt we're not talking here about what Egypt was and where it is, but we're talking about now how influential Egypt is on the behalf of the Middle East region and Africa, and how beneficial Egypt is to these countries that the president is ensuring to visit and have strong, strengthened ties with.
I believe that we have two big blocks. Our human resource that until now we don't use
to a full
our
capacity,
human resource,
yes,
and the natural resource. I believe I support Dr. Hussein's idea that we have to go through our human resource. We have the brain, we have our people, and we have our thinker, and we have our youth that they can
they can be innovative, but they need training, don't you think? They need a lot of training.
They need training, they need management.
We don't have this concept of training.
No,
anyway.
we have to.
Yes.
We have to think big, and we have to start
free, that's why
right
nobody's
now.
interested. Right?
Because if we don't start right now, so I believe that we will lose the way.
Definitely,
so
of course.
Actually,
I mean, what are you? You must be always innovating yourself.
Innovating yourself, and you must start right now to train the people and to encourage the people and to give the hope for the people for tomorrow. Instead, to have illegal immigrations and to have to see the people sitting in the coffee shop and the cafe. I believe that you have to change the mentality and to have to change their mindset, because it is about the time. If we don't do that in that time, in President Sisi time, I think we'll never do, because the man this man, he has the fast track movement. And the fast track movement, it means that you have to change your mentality, you have to change your approach, and you have to change your culture. And now it has become a must. It is not just fun, but it is must. We have.
It's not an option.
It is not option.
It's not an option.
It is not option. You must start immediately and train our people and push our people to get used. Now we are 100.
The markets are changing. I mean, look at us. We're even going through e-commerce, and it's a leap of change.
Actually, now we are
nobody uses papers anymore.
105 million people.
Exactly.
We have to use. This is our human resource. We have to use, and we have to.
And they're very hardworking, by the way. If they just take it seriously, of course.
You must take it seriously.
Yes. Now, Dr. Hussein, I also want to ask you about. I mean, how does France see Egypt, and especially in the critical economic reform program that Egypt has been through, the funds that it took from the IMF? I mean, I'm sure that they have people and executives and consultants who are just watching very carefully to see. And at the end of the day, no matter how strong your country economically is, you will not spend a penny or a euro unless you're sure that it goes in the right direction. What makes them feel that Egypt is actually, at the current moment, a safe haven for investment for them?
You said that the IMF. The IMF have already given them, Egypt, 12 billion US dollars in no time. IMF will never give you a nickel unless you are there. And they are recognizing that your money, their money will come back.
Yeah, well, it's very important to note that, because a lot of people think that it's easy for you to borrow, but I mean, even borrowing has conditions, and these conditions aren't necessarily burdens on the people in return, but, you know, it's a trust thing. I can't come borrow free money if you're not sure that I will be able to return it. So it's very important for people to know that.
Yes, and one of the important things, Egypt is thinking today, since I don't want to, let's say, I'm not going to say something fancy for presidencies. I don't like, because the moment he stepped in, Egypt is having another different vision, another different way.
Which is basically what it needed.
Yes,
and it was about time.
a different way of thinking. So it's not because of him, but because he had chosen the right track. Which wasn't necessarily an easy track, it was
difficult. But it is the right track at the end.
Yeah, he took the right track. When he took the right track, he have recognized that he is loaded with lots of problems. The main problems that he has, the increase of population, which is 2.2 million a year. That's a big hassle. And not only this, he found that education is very weak. This is why when somebody was asking about human rights, he asked them, why didn't you ask me about education instead of human rights?
Yes, of course. Exactly.
Because I have a problem there.
Yes.
So the man, he didn't dare even to ask. And he asked him about health care. You can ask me, I have a problem. So he admits that he has problems in different things. And that's the first time when you admit something that you have a problem in it, that's the beginning of correction.
They always say when you admit you have a problem, that's like halfway of solving the problem.
This is the problem. You start when you say, I have a problem, then you say, okay, how can I solve the problem? Okay, then that's the plan, then we go for this, and then we go it by steps. As a planner, I'm a planner no more than this. I see what President Sisi is doing is very unique, but I need everyone in Egypt, not only minister or the governments or anybody.
Well, the people need to work up to that standard of care.
Please do not waste your time.
Yes, don't sleep on the opportunities.
Don't waste your time, don't waste your money, because I see lots of people here in Egypt. I go in and out and I watch them.
Yeah.
They're wasting their time and they are wasting their money on nothing, on cell phones, for nothing. So please forget about
on food as well.
Let us speak frankly. Actually, we have a problem, and the best thing is that we are doing right now is that we are admit that we have a problem. We have a problem in education, like the President said yesterday. We have a problem in housing. We have a problem in healthcare. We have many big problems. To reach the right treatment, you must diagnose what you are suffering for. So you are suffering for many problems. Subsidizing, even it was a big problem. Now it is start to be solved. And IMF now, all the report of IMF, it is coming from IMF, it is positive. It is never negative. Since we have the loan from IMF, all the reports is coming positive, not only for IMF, but all the institutes. All over the world, they have a positive reaction or positive report on the Egypt. It is very difficult period. It is a very difficult time, but we have to go and pass through because we have to change the mentality, as I said before. We have to change the culture. We have to increase the capability of the people because capability of our people, I am sorry to say that it is not according to the standard. The people in Egypt, they are not capable. They're always looking about the right, but they don't give their duties.
Yes, of course, and that's the thing. And on a final note, because we're just under 2 minutes short of time, I've got to ask both of you gentlemen on the final moments of the show on how do you see Egypt in the upcoming period as a whole vision in terms of open gate door opportunities? I know it's a very big question, but I just want a statement. Please, Dr. Shuraiba, can you tell me?
Well, I want all Egyptians, as Dr. Mahmoud said, I want them to recognize one thing: time is a value.
Yes.
Please do not waste it. Number two, I want everyone, whatever your position is, do your job on a professional manner and be an innovative person. Be a creative one. Don't go by the book. Go by the book, but be a creative.
Yeah, think of your head. A final statement, really sorry to interrupt. If you want to end up your sentence because we have the top stories
The
coming
other
up.
thing, I want to say it, if the election of President Sisi is going to be tomorrow, I doubt that anyone go and say no. Not because of I'm supporting him, because what he is doing at this moment is for the sake of Egypt.
What do we need at this moment? In a final statement, briefly, please, Doctor.
Actually, I am optimistic. I believe that in 2020, Egypt will be changed dramatically.
So we'll reach our vision goals.
Yes. But we must support our presence for another period. He must stay by his fast track for another 4 years.
Yes.
It is not option. It is obligatory.
Yes.
Just to complete the way and to complete the map. And we in next 4 years, I think Egypt will be completely changed. It will be one of 50 economy worldwide.
Yes, hopefully. Now, we'd like to thank you very much. Our time is unfortunately up. Dr. Hussein Shuraiba, Professor of Economy and Planning, thank you very much for joining me on the Daily Debate. And Dr. Mahmoud Munir Sulaiman, Economic Expert and the Chairman of the Investment Committee in the Federation of the Egyptian Industries, the EFED. Thank you very much for joining.
Can you please ask on your program Stephen Roumetier, the ambassador of French, to come and meet you there and make a program about the good things France have done with Egypt the last visit of President Sisi.
Definitely, I will transfer this call to the authorities here at the channel. Thank you very much. Once again, this brings us to the end of our episode of the Daily Debate. Thank you for watching.